The Falling Soldier by Robert Capa. There are photographs that inform. There are photographs that document. And then, very rarely, there are photographs that stop time itself. Robert Capa's The Falling Soldier, taken in 1936, belongs to that last, almost sacred category. It is arguably the most famous war photograph ever made, and one of the most debated images in the entire history of photography. But to understand the photograph, we first need to understand the man behind the camera. The man called Capa. Robert Capa was not born Robert Capa. He was born Endre Ernő Friedmann in Budapest, Hungary in 1913, which makes this photograph feel particularly close for those of us with Hungarian roots. He grew up in a Jewish family, in a city that was politically volatile and increasingly dangerous. At 17, he was arrested for his leftist political activities and forced to flee the country. He made his way to Berlin, then to Paris, where he scraped together a living as a darkroom assistant and freelance photographer. It was in Paris that Endre Friedmann became Robert Capa, a fictional American photojournalist invented together with his partner and fellow photographer Gerda Taro. The name was glamorous, marketable, and, most importantly, it sold pictures. The invention worked. Capa's images began appearing in major publications across Europe, and his reputation grew rapidly. He went on to cover 5 wars: the Spanish Civil War, the Second Sino-Japanese War, World War II, the 1948 Arab-Israeli War, and the First Indochina War. He co-founded Magnum Photos, the legendary cooperative photography agency that still exists today. And in 1954, stepping on a landmine in Vietnam, he died doing the only thing he ever truly knew how to do. He was 40 years old. His most famous line, and the philosophy that defined his entire career, was this: if your pictures aren't good enough, you aren't close enough. Few photographers in history have lived that principle as literally and as fatally as Robert Capa. The image itself. Now, the photograph. It was taken on September 5, 1936, near the village of Cerro Muriano, on the Córdoba front of the Spanish Civil War. Spain was tearing itself apart. General Francisco Franco's nationalist forces were fighting against the Republican government, supported by ordinary citizens, militiamen, and international volunteers who believed they were making a stand against fascism. The image shows a militiaman, a Republican soldier, at what appears to be the precise instant of death. His body is caught mid-fall, arms flung back, rifle slipping from his right hand, legs already giving way beneath him. His white shirt catches the harsh Andalusian sunlight. The landscape behind him, dry, golden Spanish earth stretching to a flat horizon under a pale sky, feels almost indifferent to his fate. There is no dramatic explosion, no chaos, no other soldiers. There is only this man, alone, in the middle of an empty hillside, falling. The composition is, whether by chance or by instinct, extraordinary. The diagonal of the soldier's body cuts across the frame with tremendous energy. The emptiness of the sky above him, occupying more than half the image, amplifies his smallness, his vulnerability. The slightly grainy, slightly blurred quality of the photograph doesn't weaken it. It makes it feel viscerally real, as though you are there, as though the shutter caught something that the human eye could barely register. It is a photograph of universal grief. Whatever your politics, whatever your nationality, the image communicates something ancient and unavoidable, a human life ending. The controversy. And yet, the photograph has never been free from doubt. Almost from the moment it became famous, questions were asked. Was this the real moment of death? Was it staged? The man in the photograph was eventually identified, most likely, as Federico Borrell Garcia, a 24-year-old mill worker from Alcoy who died on that date and at that location. That identification, made decades later, lends significant weight to the photograph's authenticity. But the debate has never fully closed. Some researchers have noted that no active combat was recorded at that precise location on that day. Capa's own account of how the picture was taken changed over the years. His companion, Gerda Taro, was also present, and it has never been definitively established whose camera captured the image, Capa's or Taro's. Some critics argue it was staged, perhaps a training exercise, perhaps a dramatic reenactment. Others point to the spontaneous chaos of early wartime Spain and argue that the conditions were precisely those in which such a photograph could have been taken exactly as Capa described. What we can say with confidence is this: even if the circumstances of its creation were imperfect, the photograph speaks a truth that goes beyond any single moment. Men fell on that hillside. Men died fighting for what they believed in. And if the photograph is a symbol rather than a document, it is a symbol that earned its place in history through the genuine blood that was shed around it. Why it still matters. The Falling Soldier was published in the French magazine Vous in September 1936 and in Life magazine in July 1937. In an era before television, before the internet, before the 24-hour news cycle, a single photograph like this one could shape how an entire generation understood a war. It made the abstraction of conflict personal. It put a face, or rather, a body, a white shirt, a pair of suspenders, onto something that newspapers described in casualty numbers. It reminded people that war is not a political argument. It is a person falling. That is the power of documentary photography at its greatest. Not to tell you what to think, but to make you feel what is real. Robert Capa gave his life to that idea, and this single image, frozen in 1936, is perhaps the most complete expression of everything he believed photography could and should do. Thank you for watching. If you're interested in the history of photography, war journalism, or the Spanish Civil War, there's much more to explore, and we'll be back with more analysis soon.